The opinions expressed on this podcast are our own and do not represent the views of any businesses, sponsors, organizations, or partners we work with. Welcome to the Boomtown Crew Podcast. This is Reno. We're finally at episode 5. We got Dustin B. Shaka with us. That's your middle name, right?
No. But
Badass? Dustin Badass Shaka?
Not yet. Give me a couple more years.
What's with every time you come up with some random ass name to introduce somebody at that you've never used?
I'm in front of the camera. We've established this last 5 episodes.
Thinking on his feet.
You're about this close to making that a reoccurring thing every single episode.
It's going to have to be, I think,
like the whole Reno out thing.
Yeah.
It'll be like his trademark, like anchor, flank, and pinch.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing.
There
I'm
you
creating
go.
that. Sweet.
There you go.
Well, Shaka's going to be one of our panelists. He's going to be revolving with everybody else. You're our last panelist that we have.
Yeah,
so
finally,
we're happy to
finally got some free time
to finally introduce you to the show and what we got going on here. We're getting better every day. Yep.
We'll get it. Baby steps, right?
Yeah.
It's also bullshit. You haven't fucked up yet.
Did I? Oh, I didn't fuck up.
Nope.
Son of a bitch. Is that Price is Right
Price
rules?
is right.
Closest.
Well,
Closest without going over.
technically, we all went over, so nobody won.
That's true.
Well,
Nobody
so
had
she
faith.
didn't even bet, so she's at 0.
She doesn't count.
Oh,
You
okay.
didn't bet. You don't count.
Yeah, you got to put in a bet somewhere.
Well, we certainly appreciate you having you.
Oh,
on here,
absolutely,
Shaka.
dude.
No, it's
I
really-
like the concept. I like what we're going to build here. You know, you guys have kicked it off really good. So I think I don't have to screw it up now because everybody else has been killing it. And I'm like, how do I follow the show here?
Yeah, just natural conversation, man.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's the goal.
Ain't nothing but a thing.
Exactly.
I don't know where that came from all of a sudden.
Hey, nothing but a thing. I've never heard you say that.
See, I bring it out in you
He's
guys.
like, yo,
you
brother.
know?
No, it's a reoccurring theme. Those cameras start recording, we start getting stupid.
Yeah. Yep. That is
Start?
definitely.
Or it just
Whoa.
comes out.
Oh man, I forgot we have Shaka on today.
Yeah,
exactly.
we better be on our A game
A
right now.
games today, boys. A games.
Yeah. So, well, let's first off, I want you to introduce yourself. Talk about a little bit, whatever you want to talk about.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so I go by Shaka. It's kind of what everybody calls me. Been in fire now for 22, 23 years. Yeah, when started hanging out with you guys probably about 4 or 5 years ago, hunting, causing havoc, going to fires, and then we kind of talked about doing something like this. And
Yep.
Reno took it and ran with it. You give him an inch and he'll take a mile, and then he'll make it huge and famous. And so
There's so many phallic jokes I can make off that.
Huge.
It's huge, and he makes it famous, and he can take a mile.
Wait. You're talking. You're sounding like one of your employees on the helicopter.
Oh, good old.
you know, but
Probably should edit that part.
Yeah,
out.
I'll edit that one out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just have a big blur.
you know, there's a bunch of podcasts that, you know, we listen to or we talk to, and I think ours is going to be a little bit different because it's coming from small town people, volunteer people, talk about real life outside the fire world.
Yeah.
You know, I think the group that you put together as panelists everybody brings a little different twist to things.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be structured to where it's focused on one thing, you know, it's focused on a different thing, different point of views. And realistically, when we're not recording stuff, we're talking about it anyway. So we might as well have fun and pass
We're
it
just
out
as
there.
goofy and weird
Exactly.
off camera.
Exactly.
Probably worse.
Yeah.
I guarantee you we're worse.
We're way worse. Way worse off of camera. Yeah.
So you said 22 years in the fire service. Where did you start? How did you get into fire?
Well, so I'm a 3rd generation first responder. My dad's been was in for 47 years before he retired. My grandfather was in as an EMT in New York before that. So it kind of was in my blood that I knew what I was going to do from the word go. In 1995, I grew up in a town in Arizona, Prescott. They started a Explorer program where they took 10 kids out of the junior high school, and built like kind of like a Boy Scout type thing but it's through the fire department. So we got to do ride-alongs. We had trainings. We learned about pretty much everything you would learn in a firefighter 1 and 2 academy, just on a small scale type stuff. And so I started that in 95 because they knew who my dad was. They knew I was interested in fire. And it was crazy because I was just thinking about this a couple weeks ago, out of the class, there was 10 of us, and 8 of us are in fire full time still. So obviously that had an effect on some people that wanted to go do this kind of stuff. Started that, got on with a structure department, and then went into the wildland side of stuff, and that's kind of where I flourished. I like to travel. I'm a nomad. I don't like staying in one spot very long. I like to see the world. So, I bounced around from place to place to place and got to learn new things, meet new people, build up a relationship with friends and get to see different fire behavior, different ways of supervising people, different leadership styles. And finally got married, slowed down, had kids, found a place where I wanted to be, and kind of now taking everything I've learned and putting it into play as how I would like to see a supervisor and what I want to be. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. I have a lot of kids that come up to me and ask me about it, and I kind of tell them it's the best job in the world. Like you get to play out in the woods, you get to play with fire, you get to travel. I mean, I've been
meet new people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to say I fought fire in every Western state. And then I've been to Alaska now, and then I've been from all over the southern part of the United States, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Nebraska. So it's kind of cool, if you want to see stuff and explore and see where you can go, this is kind of the cool job to do.
Yeah.
And you get to play with fire.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't like to do it?
Yeah, a lot of us are pyromaniacs. Well, maybe all of us, actually.
There was a guy I worked with, and he said this at a junior high show and tell. There's a thin line between a bad guy and a cop and a firefighter and a pyro. Mm-hmm. And I play with that line all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like on the structure side, you get to take a drip torch and go light something on fire to make things better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then on the structure side, you get to go cut holes in walls and kick in doors and do all that stuff. So it's kind of fun to do both, and that's, I don't know, I think I get the best of both worlds.
It's a different discipline. And the one thing that really gets me is when you're on a structure fire, you're in a box, and for the most part, you leave the box, you're completely safe. I mean, there's barring some crazy, you get ran over by somebody not paying attention or something crazy, whatever. But in the wildland, most places aren't safe. You got to make your own safety zones,
exactly,
and know how to get to those things and your escape routes and all that.
Well, the thing for me with fire, it's like playing Tetris, right? Mm-hmm. You got to figure out what pieces go where to be able to do what. Well, when it's in a box in a confined space and it's not going a whole lot, there's still things you have to figure out. Do I use a 2.5? Do I go in with an 1 3/4? Where do we make entry in? Do we cut holes and stuff? And with wildland, it's like, okay, where are you going now? Where do I send you? Where do I put these people? So it's always that constant cat and mouse Tetris style, and that's what I like to do. I like that challenge of figuring stuff out.
Another challenge too, most of the time, all those engines that come on or those brush trucks that come on, you don't even see them. You're just talking to them on the radio.
Exactly.
So you're kind of guessing. You're like, okay, this is a 6,000 acre fire. Where are you at again?
Exactly.
You're trying to figure that out. That's a hell of a challenge right there.
Everybody's comfortability and experience level comes into play. I mean, on a structure side, unless it's a bigger event, it's usually just a solo department, right?
Yep.
Maybe 1 or 2 other surrounding neighbors might come and help you, and you kind of learn that. But on a 6,000 acre fire or something, you might have 10, 12 different departments,
Absolutely.
1 or 2 engines each, and varying how to communicate and understand, hey, I need you to go do this. Are they even capable of doing that?
Right. And I think that for like me, in my position right now, I feel extremely fortunate that I've kind of built a rapport with a lot of players in the wildland side of things. So when we do get those big fires, that are rocking, as engines show up, I know who's on what, and I'm like, oh, I trust this guy. Boom, hey, Shane, take this. Then the helicopter starts flying around. I'm like, I just need the bucket, not the crew. So where can I hide that?
All right. Okay. I guess we're going there. All right. Thank you for joining the Boomtown Crew Podcast. We're officially over.
But I think it begins this time of year where we start learning who's who. And then, the fact that, like, especially with the 3 of us, we go hunting, we go coyote calling, we do all kinds of stuff. So we build that rapport right now. So we trust each other. Like, if I'm going to trust you with a rifle or a bow shooting around me, I'm sure going to trust you while we're out there on a fire,
Yeah.
And then being able to build that next generation of people, because the salty dogs are all leaving. So now we are the salty dogs. So now we got to start building that next generation of of leaders. And what we do now on the line is going to be what they see. And they're like, oh, I want to be the next Reno flying around on helicopters. And so I think it starts now in the off season.
Yeah, mentorship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was gonna say for me, and I'm sure Reno's it feels the same way. You've been a mentor to us in the last few years, especially on the wildland side, and passing that knowledge and experience, and being a teacher. That's a huge thing. And since we're bringing it up, what does that look like now? You've been at it for 22 years. How has that transition gone from hey, I'm the guy on the hose line to where you're at now?
It sucks. I'm not going to lie. But like the days of getting out and being the first engine on scene and coming up with a strategy and tactic and passing on that leader's intent and going to the fire and start spraying water or grabbing a torch and figure out where I'm going to burn. And now I'm the guy that's coming up with that plan. And it's a hard transition. Like, I still enjoy being on the ground. I still enjoy being the guy with the torch, and you're like, oh, you need me to burn from point A to point B? Sounds good,
Well, I know it. I love it when I hear that you're IC. I'm like, all right, sweet. As soon as I land there, he's handing me drip torches and tools and a team, and he's like, go. And I'm like, yeah, let's go, baby.
Right. And there's still some guys that I consider my mentors or my guys that I try to build myself off that are still in the service, and still fighting fire. And I get to work with them once in a while, and I talk to them a lot, and I'm like, what would they do in a situation like this? And I've had those conversations with them, like, how was it when you transferred from being, on an engine or on the shot crew, and then now you're in the leadership role? How does that work? And using some of their thoughts and their stuff and trying to use that to fit my program, because everybody's a little different. And I don't want to be in a box and be, hey, this is who I am. I want to be open-minded and take that next generation. I think probably 3 years ago when Anthony started talking about wanting to be in fire, that's when it really hit me like, these guys that I'm teaching right now and I'm training right now are going to be his supervisor. So either I teach them the right way and a way to do stuff, or I'm going to have a lot of sleepless nights when he starts getting in fire and be like, who's his boss right now? Is he going to be all right?
Yeah.
And so that kind of hit me. And so finding guys that have passion like you guys do, the same way I do about fighting fire and helping our community, even on the volunteer side, like we want our departments to be the best that they possibly can. And you get a lot of young kids, and I call them kids because they're 20 years younger than me now. But it's like teaching them the right way to do, taking that energy and focusing it on where can it apply the best to help the department, not just you, but help the department or the agency as a whole. So I think that's where it kind of comes down to. The transition is, I've spent my time on the ground. Now it's time to take all that stuff I've learned on the ground, put it into a supervisory role, and then pass it on to you guys or the next generation of folks. So when I'm not there, or we have a really bad season again, and there's 80 fires going on inside the land office, that you guys can take control, and we know we're going to catch a fire, we're going to do it safely, and we're just going to get things done.
Yep.
And that's the biggest goal that I have for guys that I work with. Like, let's get it done. Let's be safe about it. But at the end of the day, we're having fun doing it.
Yeah. I mean, and that transitions well into one of the questions I have for you. We all talk about this. We're all a little bit older, me and you, more than Shane over here.
Baby duck over here.
Yeah, little baby duck. I got you by what, like 3 years?
Yeah, it's not even. I'm 35.
And I'm 38.
Yeah.
Shaka, are you going to?
I'll be 46 in a month.
Almost 60.
Yeah, feel like it at days, but yeah, in a month I'll be 46.
So I have a couple of questions. One of my first ones is, and I think both of you guys can resonate with this a little bit more than I can, especially more in fire. As you're pulling away from like that front line, getting in, doing some action, and all those type of things, do you feel at certain points you're going to get so far away from it that your supervisory or your training mode might actually kind of be watered down? Or do you throw yourself back into the action a little bit just to kind of refresh yourself? So as you're training those newbies coming in, you're keeping them fresh. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's something that I struggle with actually a lot here, because I'm in the middle of making that transition, and I've had to forcibly been removed from being the guy on the nozzle or something like that.
Yeah.
Our chief is very good at saying, hey, that's not your job and your role anymore. But you're exactly right. Those skills are perishable. Like getting on the nozzle, slaying the dragon, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And doing that, you can get, the red dragon up there. Yeah, slaying the red dragon, and you do get rusty. Even simple things as driving the equipment to the scene and you're a little bit slower. You don't quite remember maybe where something is exactly. You do, but you're not as fast as you were just a few years ago. So me personally, I try to insert myself into those roles every once in a while where appropriate and makes sense. And I do that for two reasons. One, personally, I just want to have some fun. Right. And keep those skills as sharp as I possibly can. The other reason is to allow others to take and assume that leadership role. Yeah. That part is extremely important, and I want to be able to pass on that kind of stuff, what I've learned from Shaka and others, onto those other folks. It's that servant leadership mentality of how can I best serve them and serve my department in the area that I'm focused in on right now, is passing on that leadership as much as possible.
Well, and for me, I think the biggest thing I'm seeing is technology's changing. You know, we were talking about this when I took my Firefighter 1 and 2 Academy 20 plus years ago. It was when you got to a structure fire, the first thing you do, bust out the windows, the truck company goes to the roof, starts venting, you start getting, you know, the environment better and all that. Now what do? We keep everything in shut as close as we can until we're ready to go in and spray water. And it's changed. And so as a guy that's been in during this change, I think supervisory is the same way. It's changing. Yeah. Right? Back in the day, you know, they would say, you know, you jump and you're like, is that high enough type thing? Or you do this and you don't know why you're doing it, but this is what you're doing, you know, because that's what you were told to do. And I think for me, as transitioning out of that, I have to go back to being involved. And I'm fortunate enough to have a great supervisor and a great coworkers that allow me to sometimes I can dabble in the operation side on the ground stuff and remember what that takes, you know, how do you fight fire? But I can also remember that my job is not just to be on the ground, and I can go back to that supervisory role and then take people and be like, hey, you're in charge. Call me if you need anything, and then go play and remember where you come from, right? Yeah. That's the biggest thing is I see supervisors when they transition from on the ground to now more of a administrative thing, they kind of forget what it was like to be on the ground.
Yeah, and they lose some credibility.
Exactly.
Too. That's something that I personally worry about. If I'm going to give you an order to do this, would I myself do that same thing, and would I be able to do it to the best of my ability and be good at it?
Exactly.
I want to make sure that I am still doing that.
Well, if you grab a nozzle or you're pumping on an engine, or in the wildland side, you're digging some line or running some torches, as a supervisor, it buys you kind of like a little street cred with the younger people that are like, oh, this is just an office pencil pusher kind of guy. Oh, wait a minute. Why is he sleeping on the dirt with us? Why is he running a torch? Why is he dirtier than I am? You know, that buys you something when you start talking to him and be like, hey, I've been there.
Yeah. I know one thing that definitely brought a lot of respect from me to you. We were on the bow fire and I was your scribe. Yeah. And I was like, fuck, I want to be out there. Like, what am I doing? But I was watching him on the radio. He has like 18 radios. He's clicking all over the place, you know.
Getting my thumb workout.
Getting his thumb workout. And he's like, hey, can you take notes for me? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I wanted to be out there. It was the first fire of the season. And I was like, I want to be out there. But watching him and actually writing those notes down and getting the different apparatus out there, you know, time frame, everything of that sort. I was like, man, that's a lot of stuff. I was like, I really better start learning a lot of this so I can start learning that IC role and start getting into that role, because I know before long I'm going to be there. Right, you know, I mean, yeah, I'm new into fire, but I'm not new into life. So that's the whole challenge right there. So I know that ultimately, as much as I just want to be a firefighter, I'm going to have to be that leader and learn from both of you guys.
Well, the funny part about that is he did these notes. And I mean, when I'm talking notes, they're legible, they're detailed, they're everything. And I'm like, man, I can't turn these things in. And he's like, why not? I'm like, there's no way anybody's going to think I wrote this nice and these are all my notes. You know, there's no way. Yeah. But I think that's good for guys like you and you to sit in the back seat of somebody's truck, or, you know, take a back seat a little bit and realize what is the chiefs or the ICs or the AFMOs or FMOs or whoever, what their job really is.
Yeah.
Because we give them a lot of crap and make fun of them at times and stuff. Be like, oh, you're just a pencil pusher. But if it wasn't for them, where would we be?
Yeah, they're
gotta pick up
equally
that slack.
important.
Absolutely.
And one of the exercises that we did, and I credit to Reno, and it was his idea on the training side for our department, was to get the rookies in there, get their experience, see fire, put it out, do that. But the other layer to that was actually swapping out that incident command role, having them respond as if it were a real incident. And one of the cool things that I got to kind of take those ICs, those newer people maybe in leadership positions already, not a lot of experience, they're working on it, or somebody who's just a firefighter that said, hey, you know what, you need to learn some of this stuff because maybe one day it might be you because there's nobody available. And that's a very real possibility in the volunteer world.
Yeah.
And one of the really cool things that came out of that is we had an opportunity for a firefighter who had never been in that position on any call ever. And he jumped in that. He raised his hand. I want to do this and see what it's like. And at the end of it, he's like, holy cow, you do a heck of a lot more than I thought. Like, that's not to take away from the guys and gals who are at the end of the nozzle doing the work. There's an equal amount of work you just don't understand or see in the background.
Well, and we have to understand as in your position, especially, being a new BC and then mine being, that rural fire guy and yours now being a helicopter manager, we got to put people in positions where they're not comfortable, right? Because if we're holding their hand, like, a tenth of an acre roadside fire and it's you and 3 other people, and we're like, hey, you're going to be in charge. The pressure and the having to make them think on their own isn't there. It's a simple fire, right? But you put them on a fire like the Bow fire, start breaking people out into divisions that have never been divisions before, or you're putting a new ops guy in or a new IC and being like, hey, have fun, call me if you need anything. And you put them into that stressful environment, and that's where they're going to learn stuff. And, you don't let them fail, but you let them, well, let me rephrase that. You do let them fail, but to the point that you're there to catch them as they're failing.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've trained a lot of people over the last couple of years that have now gone into the AFMO level of supervision. And one of the biggest things for them, they knew how to fight fire. They knew how to take the nozzle, put the wet stuff on the hot stuff, do all that. But they've never been in a situation where they feel that they're under stress. They feel like this is beyond my capability. And then once they do it, they actually do a really good job. And then they're like, I kind of like this. 21 was that way. I put we had a fire in a subdivision. It was cranking. I took over as IC and I put that captain in as a division, and she kicked butt. Nobody got hurt, dropped retardant across the houses. Like we saved a lot of homes that day. And at midnight when we came back to ICP to regroup, the first thing she said is, I'm going to kick you straight in the nuts. I was like, for what? And she's like, don't ever put me in a situation like that. And I'm like, why? Did you kill anybody? No. Did you learn a lot? Yeah. Did we put the fire out? Yeah. So why are you upset? Because it was outside your comfort level? I have enough faith in myself that I can tell when I'm pushing somebody too far.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to push people to do stuff that they're not comfortable with, because we have a huge generation gap right now of leadership, and we got to start filling that gap. And if we don't put people in positions to take risk where they have a fail safe to go back to, then they're never going to push themselves to be better.
Yeah. What happens when you're not there?
Exactly.
And there is no safety net.
Right. There's one of me to cover 7 counties. And realistically, in our land office, we have 4 of me to do that county fire advisor job. So we get a busy season. We're going to be bouncing from fire to fire. So we're going to have to trust other people to help us out and put you in positions where that's not my everyday job. But what is your everyday job? It's to serve and protect the people. It's to fight fire to the best of your ability to keep everybody safe. So realistically, it is in your realm of job. It's just something you've never been exposed to yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, and it's fun. I think we're building a really good core of firefighters, at least in this part of Montana, eastern Montana, to where people can fight fire and have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I don't know if it's necessarily unique across the U.S., but the staff station program that, I don't know how long it's been running, 6 or 7 years, maybe.
Yeah, I think 18, 19, somewhere in there.
Yeah, the whole idea and premise being to save the taxpayers some money and gain experience by, instead of paying outside resources from other states who maybe don't know our land office as well as we do, to come in here and protect us, why don't we pay the guys at the local level and have them go through the training and be able to do and volunteer what time they can.
Absolutely.
And actually get a paycheck out of it.
Yep.
Well, one of the biggest challenges I think we have with that too, it's through the volunteer stations, but we've seen it at the state level. There's 3 or 4 stations that are actively staffing every day. And then we have certain stations, they are smaller stations. How do we motivate those guys they've got wide irons in their bays. They can be there. How do we motivate those guys to actually staff some more too? Or do we?
I don't think it's necessarily a question of motivation.
Yeah.
Those people are equally committed, I would hope, than we are in some of these other stations that participate in that program a little bit more. It's that you got to question, what else are they doing? A lot of them are farmers and ranchers,
right?
And their schedules are not dictated by themselves. It's the animals and the places that they take care of and things they take care of. They're giving as much time as they possibly can. So I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a question of motivation. Maybe in some cases, it's more of the volunteer sector is getting smaller. There's less people volunteering. It's a nationwide program, not just in fire, but EMS and PD as well. And unfortunately, it's just the way it is. We're moving towards a period in time that a lot of departments are no longer able to sustain themselves on volunteers.
Absolutely.
And they have to go and make that next step. Well, how do you do that when you don't have any funding or not enough? And that leads us kind of into that difference that we were kind of discussing ahead of filming this, was the difference is between a municipality versus a land office through the states and then volunteers through a fire company, and what that looks like. So you are kind of unique. You're part of a fire company.
I'm unique.
Yeah. And then you're in the States and you get to see kind of both sides, and you work with a lot of municipalities too.
I think that's what helped me with my position, is being on a volunteer department for almost 8 years now. And then being in this position, I understand where they're coming from. You know, like, they're there to get the fire put out, and then they got to go back to work. They got things to do. Like, my job is to go fight fires, you know, where their job might, like you said, ranching, farming, construction, whatever. And they get out to go to the page, and then they got to get back to work. So understanding that and where they're coming from, and then understanding that there's some great firefighters. And I'm pretty sure my numbers are pretty close, but I think there's roughly a little over 1 million firefighters in the United States. And like 65, 70% of them
Fact checker.
are volunteers.
How many volunteer firefighters are in the U.S.?
I think it's 65, 70% of the fire service is volunteers.
Yeah, it's a super high
and people don't realize that, you know, and to have that many people be volunteers, we as professional paid firefighters have to understand that. And I'm not going to say that volunteers are better than municipality paid departments or vice versa, but we all have a role, and we all do a damn good job at what we do.
Yeah. There is approximately 900,000 volunteer firefighters in the U.S., and they encompass about 65% of the total firefighting force.
Wow.
My numbers are pretty close.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing is, like,
Hey, there's the next part on there. Those numbers have declined from nearly 900,000 in 1984.
1984.
Yeah.
So that's not really that long ago. I mean, you think about a lot of guys that are in fire probably weren't born during that time frame.
About 40 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, Shaka.
Not that long
Before we
ago.
were all born.
Not me. But, you know, you think about it, and it's like the big thing we talk about with a bunch of my volunteers or, you know, other agencies is it's not about recruitment, it's about retention.
Yeah.
And making sure that the volunteers understand that they're wanted and that they're needed and that they're appreciated for what they do. And when I go out to fires, sometimes I like working with volunteers on the aspect of they just want to get out there and get things done and move on. You know, there's no political stuff behind it. There's no bureaucracy behind it. It's we get out there, we do a job, and they do a great job. I would say majority of our fires from the state side, as I start responding to fires, majority of the time, the volunteers either have them out before I get there or they have everything under control. And then I laugh and smile and they're like, "You're going to go play, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Yep."
Any opportunity I get.
You know?
I'd have to say too, you know, that retention and recruitment, you said, retention is great, but we're looking at something now too. And I disagree with you on that regard, because recruitment is just as important. You retain those guys and you have them have that pride in that volunteer station. We need recruitment because we're seeing that vast difference in age.
Right.
And a lot of the younger guys, this Gen Z or these guys, they're not volunteering, but they are. Like, we have a handful. I mean, I've got rookies right now. They're 18, 19, 20. Some of them are 29 going on 30, but still, I think that you build that team mentality at your department, and then that gets that recruitment coming in, because we have to keep those generations coming in.
Well, and I'd say honestly, they're not different subjects. They're the same thing. If you build a positive culture within your organization, that recruitment will come.
Absolutely.
If they are motivated, you have an 18, 19-year-old young adult that is volunteering their time, and then they're going out and they enjoy the job doing it, then they start talking to their other friends and getting them interested in it. They're the same subject.
Well, and I think too, you got to be honest with them. There's things about the job that suck.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when we do our recruitment, we talk about all the great things. Oh, you get to go play with fire. Oh, you get to do, dig line. You get to run fire on the ground. You get to do all that stuff.
I wouldn't say digging line is a positive thing, but
It can be. But, we forget about telling them, like, it could be 2:00 in the afternoon on Christmas Day that you got to go, or there's potential you're going to see death. There's a cleaning hose, doing the training. Those things are things people don't think about when they sign up to be a volunteer.
Yeah, there's other aspects too. You go to a place, you be bored out of your mind.
Exactly.
For days on end, have no service.
Exactly.
Be away from your family, those kind of things.
Well, you took a fire assignment this year to go to Cali, and you were there for 2 weeks. Not a single page got dropped.
Yep, not a single call.
Yeah, and it's boring.
Yeah.
And that's the crappy part about the job. So now when we recruit people, we use the positives or the cool things about the job to hook them, but we don't really ever educate them on the crappy side of the stuff for the job. And I think the more we're honest with them and be like, hey, yeah, this is the coolest job in the world, and I really believe that, and I'm passionate about that, but here's the crappy stuff that you're going to deal with. Cleaning hose, you're going to get dirty, you're going to work with people you probably don't like or have the same views on things. You're going to end up being away from your family a lot. You're going to end up doing this or that. But on the flip side of it, you get to play with fire, you get to drive fire trucks, you get to spray.
You get to meet some pretty amazing people.
Yeah.
And usually what we'll say, we're pretty good. When we hire somebody into our organization, we'll tell them, hey, this will be one of the things that I find myself saying a lot is, this will be the best, worst decision you ever made.
Exactly.
I'll say the same thing if you join the armed services. There's a lot of positives, there's equal negatives. And on the fire department side, it really is, you're going to be missing some stuff, but you get to meet some amazing people. And that translates into your civilian side or the job world. If you're a volunteer and you're doing another job as a farmer or rancher, you get those leadership experiences and learn how to work with different people from other organizations. And you learn some pretty cool stuff along the way.
Well, and then you get to, like you said, meet cool people. Like, I don't think the three of us, would hang out if it wasn't for this job.
Nope.
No. I mean, we live 40 minutes apart from each other.
Yep.
We work on two different sides of the county on the fire departments. Very rarely do we ever mutual aid with each other unless it's a massive wildfire.
Right.
So doing this, we got to meet each other. And now we go elk hunting together. We go coyote calling. We send Reno on death marches looking for antelope.
You've got your gay dildo turkey caller.
Exactly.
the running somebody else's truck into a big giant hole.
Exactly. Having to call your fire buddies to come and pull you out because you're stuck. But that opens up other doors and it opens up other avenues. And the biggest thing, obviously, I watch a lot of podcasts too and listen. And there was one about a guy, older gentleman, New York Fire, and he said, 20 years ago, we used to solve the world's problem around the dinner table. Nowadays, that doesn't happen. You know, at the firehouse, like when you're there, it's the same people typically hang out together. And then the younger generation now with all the new technology are on their phone, talking to their girlfriend, playing video games, watching YouTube videos or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
But we don't talk the way we used to. And that's something that I would like to see my generation bring back to the fire service. You know, is how are you doing today? How's the family? You know, everybody going to this kid's basketball game or this kid's football game, or, hey, I got to build a deck in my backyard. Anybody available tonight? You know, I'll buy pizza and beer, you know, and next thing you know, you got 10 firefighters over there building stuff, because most of us have side jobs, you know, of doing stuff and building that rapport, because the younger guys, that's what they're looking for. They hear all these crazy stories about, oh, I did this when I was a rookie, or I did this my first couple of years. And it's like, they get there and they're like, this guy's full of crap, dude. None of this happened. But if we can bring that back to the fire service or even emergency service in general and be one team, I don't care what color your truck is. I don't care what it says on the side of your truck. We're all one team and we're all a family, and we got to watch out for each other. And, you know, especially how much things have changed in the world now, we got to take care of each other. You know, I watched your guys' thing with Beebs about the whole mental health stuff. Like, dude, when I first got in, that wasn't even a word we talked about. You know, and it's still very sensitive subject to talk about now. But in reality, what's the number one killer besides heart attacks in the fire service? Suicide.
Yep.
Why? Because we don't want to talk about that. Because especially my generation, we weren't raised to talk about that stuff. Now you look at these municipality fire departments when they're doing academies, it's like 6-8 week academies. There's a whole week of mental health and how to look at it in you, how to look at it in your friends, how to do all that stuff, because it's a big thing to start talking about. You know, cancer, you know, when I got into the structure side of things, I can remember being on structure fires, no SCBAs on after overhaul, just ripping down roofs and doing this and doing that. And guess what? Cancer started becoming a serious thing, and we're like, what do we do about that?
Decontaminate.
Exactly. Now we got decontamination, or we got multiple turnout gear to swap out, or there's even fire engines nowadays buying trucks that you can put your gear on the external side of things, so it's not in the cab.
Clean truck.
Yeah, clean
stuff.
truck. You know,
That's something that we've been trying to implement as much as possible with some of our new equipment, because there's a lot of research out there. We had, I can't remember what organization he was from, but he came in and did a full presentation, and I'm glad our fact checkers on the
all right, let's see it.
case here. So heart disease is number one. Number two is accidents and overexertion. That makes sense.
Yep.
Cancer being number three, and actually fourth is mental health and suicide. So
Still, it's on top 5. I mean, that's still huge.
yeah, it's not number one, but it's still a major problem.
I can tell you, it wasn't even probably in the top 20 when I first started.
Yeah.
Well, I bet you know, I think it always has been a problem.
Or we
It
just didn't
wasn't
know about
talked about.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Social media now has gained, like, as you as a training officer, how many times have you seen something on like a YouTube video or something? And you're like, man, that'd be a sweet training to put on our department, and go do it. That training's probably been around for 30 years, but you never knew about it because we didn't have the smartphones or computers or
I
things
think that's
like
a
that.
hybrid dynamic, because you talked about bringing back kind of like the old school hanging out at the station. One of the things that I found is very crucial is like solving the world's problems through text, group text.
Right.
Like we'll sit there, we do it all the time. You know, like we'll sit there and we'll text each other for like 2 hours, and wives and girlfriends are like, who the hell are you talking to? Be like, just talking to my brothers. Well, didn't
Right.
you just get done talking with them and hanging out with them?
Yep.
But I think if we kind of developed a hybrid form of that, like, you know, whether it's, hey, let's have barbecues over at the station, or let's text about it, get everybody together, get them all hyped and pumped up for it. I don't know how it looks for us kind of developing, because I love that. I love hanging out at the station after a call. And we just talk, because then we end up talking about certain things and staying there for an extra 3 hours. And we're underneath an engine, or Shane's showing me something. And
Fixing something that somebody else broke and said nothing about.
Right.
yeah, and that's where the conversation gets developed too. You know, like, yeah, that thing broke. Oh, it did? Yeah, well, let's go fix it real quick.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And that's how you learn some more too as well. But I really love the dynamic of bringing back that personal touch. There was a couple of years ago, I had cut down a bunch of trees, invited half the rookies. I was a rookie at the time. Invited half the rookies over. I had beer, breakfast, everything ready. every single one of them canceled on me, didn't show up. So I was like, well, crap, that sucks. You know, I'd been planning this for 3 weeks, you know, and it actually broke my heart. I was like, man, I thought every single one of these guys was going to show up, and they didn't. I'm like, all right, I want to see that a little bit more too, because that adds on to that recruitment, that retention, everything that we're talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, like my kid right now is over at one of the firefighters' place shooting his bow. Like I was out helping my daughter with a flat tire. She's babysitting. She had a flat tire. I had to go change it, get it all figured. He calls me. He's like, hey, I'm going to go shoot my bow with such and such. I'm like, who are these people? Like I thought he's 15 years old. I thought he was hanging out with his buddies. He's like, you know, the guy from the fire department. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. You know, and he's trying to get into 4-H shooting bows and do a lot of stuff. But it's the fire department guy that got him interested in doing this. We're now passing some of that legacy down to him and his buddies that want to get into the fire service. And then, you know, doing that brotherhood, like I can't shoot my bow more than 30 yards in my backyard. Yeah. This dude's got a 3D, like 20-acre course that he can walk these kids around. And then, of course, it's, you know, dad trying to teach kid how to shoot bow. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Of course not. You know, you have nothing.
Nothing. I haven't killed elk with my bow or anything else, you know.
Yeah, but, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've witnessed it personally.
And so, but here he is talking to him, teaching him how to shoot bow, but it's that fire service. And it, you know, they always say it takes a village to raise a family.
Yep.
Well, what about our family? You know, we are a family, and it takes guys, especially on the volunteer side, when they break through, if they're a rancher building fence or they got calving going and they leave to go to a call, well, nobody picked up that slack behind, but hey, I'm free tomorrow. I can come over and help you bury some fence posts. Cool. And now they don't feel like the burdens of the world is on top of them having to keep their livelihood going, because now they got a brother coming over to help them pick back up because they went to that call for 3 hours.
Yep.
You know, and then understanding that, and we've talked about this in the fire side of things too, is we have a dark sense of humor. And so I think the way we deal with a lot of stuff is we stay at the station for 3 hours making fun of each other. You know, in our group text, Reno said something about, when is it Reno, make fun of Reno Day? And I was like, well, since I don't get to see you every day, every day, you know? And that was the thing. Like when we work together in the summertime, it's constantly giving each other a hard time.
Yeah.
But we also know when things are bad or you need something, we can step up to that role.
That's a great way to keep the pulse on the culture. We talked a little bit about that, and that culture, a good way to know whether or not you have a great culture is if they are doing that. The call's over with, said and done with, and they've been here for a couple hours talking, solving the world's problems or what have you. But a sign of a bad culture may be, in fact, that everybody leaves.
Exactly.
Nobody's talking. Nobody's just coming down to the station to hang out or helping one another. And I guess from your perspective, how do you address that? How do you build that type of culture into your organization?
You become the leader of it. Like, there's a lot of times, I don't care if you're a first-year firefighter or 30-year firefighter, if you got issues with stuff, you need to become the leader of that and address that. You know, be that positive thing. Hey, what are you doing tomorrow night? Oh, I got to build some fence. You need some help? Cool. I'll come over and help you, you know, or, hey, I got some trees that need to be cut. You know, and don't expect it, but it should be expected, if that makes sense. Like, we as a family, if your kid gets a flat tire, as a parent, you're going to go change their tire if they are broke down somewhere, right? Well, if we're calling ourselves family, then if a brother needs help or a sister needs help doing something and you have that skill to help them and you're not doing anything, why aren't you going to help? And so, like, I always say, if you have a problem, you need to become the leader of that problem. And by changing that, you know, we can all sit back and we've done it before, and I've done it before and been like, that's such BS, and I could do better than that, and why aren't they doing this? You know, and always play that armchair quarterback. Well, how do you fix that problem? Is you get involved in it and you become the leader of that and say, hey, this ain't right anymore, or this ain't working. Let's change it. And I'll be the person that's going to set that bar, and we're going to keep going. And then you drag people into stuff, you know, and you're like, hey, we're going to go do this. Like, you know, with Dave's place, we're going to go cut this place. You know, you introduced me to that spot and it's a cool place. but we can do something to help Shane out so we can still get access to go there and hunt and,
Yeah.
and do that kind of stuff. And I'm going to be the leader of this, and let's go.
Well, and that helps us too with experience. Like I've never seen I've seen RXs or prescribed fires and stuff, but just to see the planning process of it and being a part of that and the importance of that too. I mean, we go out there and hunt and we're like, man, like this place needs to be cleaned up, you know, the natural side of things. And
what does that look like? And what that looks like is a far cry difference from when something's actually actively on fire.
Exactly.
How to manage and be a conservationist and how to change that environment to benefit the critters that run around on it, and as well as the humans that maybe put some cattle or something on it is a different type.
Those elk get a little bit bigger because we
Hopefully.
Well, and it's not even like just that. It's like, you know, when Sarah got stuck this year, I felt like shit because you called me because it's like 3 blocks down from my house, but I was outside blowing snow. So I didn't hear my phone ringing. And then I was like, all right, does she need help? Like, I'll be there in a couple minutes. And it's knowing that you have friends and all around that if you picked up the phone and said, hey, my water line broke in my house, can you come and help me? Or I got some trees that just came down on my fence, I need help getting that done. Or that family thought, you know, like, yes, my direct family, my blood comes first, but then my fire family comes right after that. You know, like I hunt with geese with a bunch of my fire friends, you know, and we talk smack at each other. When we go out hunting, it's more talking smack than it is about.
Oh, yeah.
And so now when the pressure comes on, when that bull's standing there at 30 yards and you know that we're watching, it's like, how do I not do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's fun, and I wouldn't change it any other
well,
way.
that adds to the dynamic too, right? You guys thought I was going to fuck up the introduction today.
Exactly.
I thought I was going to fuck it up. I'm
No,
like,
you
don't
nailed
fuck it
it
up.
first
Don't
try.
fuck it up. Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's fun to have that shit talking session.
It is, and it makes the job that much more enjoyable. And that's where there's some crappy things about this job.
Yeah.
We all know, we've all dealt with it, we've all seen it. You know, I'm pretty sure, fact checker, you can check this out, but I'm pretty sure firefighting is one of the highest divorce rates in America.
So we did look at this at one point.
We
did.
I think it was military and nursing
Yeah.
was top, and then firefighter was right next to it. It's top. It's definitely top.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, I can't control what happens in your relationship, but I can be there for the aftermath, or I could be there for a sounding board to say, hey, man, I got you. If you need somebody just to vent to, drink a beer with, go have dinner with, whatever, call me, dude. I got you. You know, and that's what it comes down to.
There you go.
I don't see
so we
anywhere
have-
where that actually says firefighters.
So
So hospitality being number one, healthcare, including home health aides,
there
medical
you go.
assistants.
Protective services, law enforcement officers, military personnel, and firefighters would fall underneath that.
Yeah.
Unless they put us under our own category. I don't see it.
Maybe they had to make the numbers different, but you know, like understanding that, like our family comes first. You know, if you guys called me and said, "Hey, you want to," which has happened a lot lately, is, "Hey, you want to go do this?" and I'm like, "Sorry, man, my kid's wrestling today."
Yeah.
Or my daughter's got a cheer thing or whatever. We understand. Cool. I invited him. He got family stuff, but when that does break loose, you know, the end of wrestling season or the end of this sport or the end of kids doing this, then it's like game on, let's go.
Yeah.
You know,
And I'm in the same boat, you know, with building up Infinite Patriot. I mean, you guys have both seen me. I'm in here 4 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night every day, and there's some 4 o'clock
especially
mornings.
during hunting season.
But I want to get past that. It's not that I want to keep doing that. It's I'm trying to build that foundation. So then, hey, we can go do some more hunting.
Exactly.
And just hang out. You know, I miss family game nights, right? You know, like we developed the family game nights, and I actually kind of had an idea last night.
Oh God.
We love our family game nights. How can we incorporate that on a bigger scale? I was just talking about barbecues earlier, the tailgate parties and the stuff that we want to do for the town takeover and stuff like that. Maybe we do something like that for Yellowstone County for all the fire departments to meet somewhere, or open up an area where we invite all the obviously not all the firefighters can show up there because if we empty out the halls,
Right. Who's going to what?
Who's going to what? But develop something that even if it's every other weekend, and what do we got going on over there?
Number one, protective services.
services. Yeah.
Oh,
I guess it probably depends on which piece of information.
Yeah,
you
which
need to look
resource
up.
you take it from.
but still,
there's no
Right.
doubt that it's
high up, top 10 jobs.
It's always going to be on top 10. I think it's always going to be on top 5. Military, police, and first responder or firefighters.
Yep.
But no, that was my idea. I was like, hey, bring family game nights and make them a bigger concept. And even if it's once a month or every other month, obviously wildland season kind of takes from that a little bit, but I don't know.
I would counter the fact that the staff station program that we were just talking about kind of lends itself to that.
Yeah.
Like when we're running and gutting and grabbing some grit torches, lighting the world on fire, doing the job. And then at the end, hopefully when we're allowed to actually get some sleep, maybe we have a great big gaggle fuck or whatever you want to call it.
We did that with the 212.
I was going to say the chainsaw
the
class.
chainsaw class.
You know, I got a lot of pushback on that about camping out and doing stuff, but you talk to the people that went to the class, and now everybody, hey, you know, this person, I never knew this person, I just met them, and now they're, you know, you got to go out on some roles with that department, you know, and oh, this person, now I know, and then we brought, you know, Hartsey and Wayne and all them over from ELO, and having them get to know people, and then when we get on a strike team role, or you take the helicopter over there, they know who you are.
I ran into them plenty of times over by Miles City this last year, and they're like, Reno? I was like, yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, and
we're here to save your ass.
yeah, and doing it and getting away from the you got to do a little bit of classroom stuff. And that's just the nature of the beast. But doing that and then having those active field days of, hey, we're all coming together, we're all training, and then spending the night there on that piece of state land out there. I mean, there was some fun games and other things that were happening there that we're not going to talk about.
We won't talk about it. Yep.
Well, I learned how to make s'moritos. And now I tell everybody, like, when I go hunting, I'm making s'moritos, dude.
Yeah.
Those things were the bomb.
What the heck are s'moritos? Where was I involved on this? I went hunting with you all the time.
I don't know if I was a part of this.
No,
I don't know what it is.
So s'moritos are, you take a medium-sized tortilla shell, you put your peanut butter on it, then you put your chocolate, your marshmallows, and sprinkle it with a little Heath bar, roll it up in a burrito, and then heat it up over the fire. Instead of a s'more that goes everywhere, it's all inside that, and you can just eat it, and it doesn't go everywhere.
I saw exactly what he was doing.
Oh, you got to watch around here.
You got to watch those hand movements.
I was too busy losing at another game, probably at that point.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I was going to bring up is we've had a few rookies that are saying, hey, what classes can I take? What should I take? And they're coming and asking me or Reno and saying, hey, should I do that 212 class? And
Absolutely.
that's exactly my answer. I will give them a brief rundown. This is how it is. It's unique. Difference from, like, say, the 131 or any of the other classes that are very important and good learning opportunities, but there's not very much opportunity to get out there, stay a night or two, get to know them after there's no training to be done after 6 o'clock or whatever it is, and really get to know each other. And once I've conveyed that fact, or Reno has, and said, hey, this is what it is, it's an instant, sign me up. I want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And even on a fire, you know, you spend the night on a fire, you know, we can gaggle up, have an AAR, you get to talk to people. Like, my big thing is I like assigning resources with other resources. You know, that way they get to know each other, and then they break down barriers, and then they meet. I mean, I got to take Colton with me this last year down to South Dakota in March, and we had a wicked strike team that was just amazing. And the biggest thing I told him, you're going to a new group of guys that nobody knows who we are. The biggest thing as a trainee you got to get them to do is drink that Kool-Aid and build everybody together. And out of that strike team, I still talk to probably, I don't know, half a dozen of them on a regular basis. And we talk about fires and jobs and all this stuff. And it's like, we literally just met on a fire assignment.
Yeah.
They got my number because I was the point of contact. And now we're talking about hunting, sending pictures, you know, hey, I'm coming into town. Let's go grab something to eat.
Yeah, they're extended family now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about this newer generation is when I sell people on stuff is you get to meet some cool people.
You also get to meet some really big jerks along the way, too. How do you deal with people?
Why are you looking at me? Both of you. Whoa.
And it is. You get to see different personalities. You get to see different parts of the world. You get to see different leadership styles. And I think as a younger person, if you get in the fire service and you listen and look around and observe what's going on,
Yeah.
by the time you get to that 20-year veteran status, you're going to be a hell of a good leader, because you're going to see stuff that you didn't like, and you're going to see stuff you do like, and you're going to hopefully be able to filter a lot of that out and figure out how to be you as a supervisor, not Shane, not me, not you, but you as that individual as a supervisor. And you're going to have a lot of skills to deal with things, because you know, even 20 plus years into the fire service, there's things that pop up that I've never dealt with before. And it's like, all right, how would I want to be treated in this situation? Or how would I deal with it if I was in somebody else's shoes?
Yeah.
And it's like, adapt and overcome. You know, this is how I'm doing it. We're moving forward. We're doing this. You know, we're constantly changing. And that's the hard part as a supervisor, is the constant change. Yeah. You know, the technology, like 10 years ago, if you told me I would be using drones and pushing them through on wildland fires, I'd be like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I got to use my first drone, and
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man, they make life a lot easier.
We had a drone on that Magnum fire with the solar panels.
Yeah.
And that accident that caused that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we had a drone. We were up in a assignment up in Helena, and there was a large section that was very inaccessible. Really, a hot shot crew was really the only resource that could even remotely get over to it. And when you blow that out to, this is a month-long Type 1 incident, small acreage, but very complicated.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Using that drone out there to go and check for hot spots, using a thermal imager camera mounted to that drone and being able to check all of that stuff was a huge resource. Whereas, like you said, 10 years ago, not even a thought.
Right.
We're putting people there. We're able to remove that, what's the word here? Risk.
Yep.
And get it out of there and away from people. But there's a time and place for everything. Not everything should be solved by a drone.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
Use it to the work.
Yeah, we're all the way from the drone level to airplanes to satellites. Satellites have the thermogenic.
Yeah. How many times, like last year, that Beaver Creek fire ended up getting picked up because it was showing up on Antera, which is a satellite-based heat source.
Yep.
And it was the AFMO from the Eastern Land Office called us, and he's like, "Hey, where's this fire at?" We're like, "What fire?" And all of a sudden we pull up Antera, and it pops up, and now like we're like, all right. And by the time we made the phone call to the chief of that department, like, "Hey, do you guys got a fire?" They were getting paged out for it. So technically he found it before they even got paged out. But 10, 15 years ago, was that an option?
Yeah.
No.
And that helped us get on the helicopter and get out to that fire right away. I think we barely beat you there.
No, you beat me because I wrapped some wire. around my
Well, I
drive
watched
channel.
you wrap your tire in that wire.
But at the end of the day, like, our job is to keep fires small. Having that technology and having the ability to look at that stuff gets resources responding, because that was in some gnarly country, and it had a lot of potential to go go quick. You know, the one time it didn't blow any wind in eastern Montana was that day. And so the idea of being able to keep up with technology, like, you know, I'm learning how to do social media stuff. Like, I finally got a Snapchat because my kids were getting it and I wanted to know what it was all about. Everybody's like, "You have a Snapchat?" I got mine the same time my daughters did, and they're over 20,000 snaps. I thought I was a high with 400 snaps, and they're at 20,000. I'm like,
Yeah, that's one thing I can't get behind. I had it for a while, and
What's the difference between, I keep getting on Snapchat. I'll meet somebody and they're like, "Oh, you're on Snapchat?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then they send you a video and it disappears. I'm like, well, crap, what if I'm busy and I just look at it and I can't look at it again? What's the difference between that and texting? You know, hey, just text me the video.
Itself. That's the thing. So that's the primary.
But there's very
use.
few reasons that should be important.
but it's because
Like when
we're
Shaka's
old.
sending me his pics.
But when you're old,
Sorry, I'll blur that out.
I'm old, and so text messaging is what we did, or picking up the phone. Like, you know, Mike gives me our time. He's like, "You know, they make this thing called a computer. You can send emails," and I'm like, "Yeah, but it's also a matter of interpretation." When I read those emails, if I pick up the phone and call that person, then there's no interpretation. Like, they could hear the tone of my voice. I can kind of problem solve over the phone with them, and there we go. But realistically, he's not wrong, because email gives me that documentation that I need, and be like, "Hey, you put it in an email that you didn't want this, or you did want this, and I gave it to you." Now I have that paper trail. Before, when I was younger and my memory was good, I could remember, like, on this date, at this time, you said this. Now it's like when you're talking to 80 people in a day, or you got 8 different fires going on as a DO, you're trying to remember, did Reno call and ask to go to this fire, or was that having that documentation?
Yeah, there's a time and place for everything. It's no different than when we're showing up on scene. That radio communication is the number one reliable or most relied on piece of equipment that we have to give that leader's intent and do that. The best form of communication, though, and this is straight out of the NWCG, is person to person.
Absolutely.
Doing a face to face and talking, but unfortunately,
that good old oral.
You're still stuck on this.
No. When you were giving the class, you were giving the 131. Last year.
Yeah, you signed me that.
Yeah, he gave him the PowerPoint, and I was reading through it. I'm like, man, this PowerPoint says a lot of oral.
Yeah,
like
it has the word oral in every slide.
We're sitting there waiting for Shane to say oral, and he did not say the word once. And I was like, I'm impressed. He didn't say it once.
Right? Challenge accepted.
Especially in a scenario like that where you've asked me to come in and say, hey, I need you to teach this section of this course. And it's a huge honor. I wanted to do that, and it was the first time I'd ever been afforded that ability to do so. But then I was terrified that I was going to keep saying words, because we're all children at heart, like oral across people I don't know. And from that, it's funny now, I get every once in a while people say, hey, I'll introduce myself, like, hey, I'm Shane Willis, Laurel Fire, whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, you did the 131 or whatever it was. I'm like, oh, cool.
People paid attention.
Yeah, they know. You know me, but I don't know you, which I suck at. And I'm working on it.
Morning briefing. That's why I volunteered to do it. And since I started doing the morning briefing, my fun part is when you guys are all making fun of me and you guys are kicking me text. Especially when I was trying to grow that mustache.
I'm so happy that you brought that up. Yeah, you had that terrible mustache.
It's coming back this year.
Yeah, please
that's
don't
right.
Spare us all from that. But we were talking. Like, you're trying to be very serious, and it is a serious time. We're talking about preparing to make sure that we're not going to have some issues and high fire potential days, like red flag days and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the thing's killing me right now.
Yeah, I know. She had to turn the camera back on.
But we're all
taking forever. We're at an hour.
I know.
I see that. I can see the timer. We'll wrap it up. We'll probably won't need to do the video.
I don't think we will.
Footage,
yeah,
but,
we got plenty.
But what I was going to say is you're doing the briefings. You're talking about fire, weather, potential resources in the area, if there are fires going on and what resources are on that. That's all very important information. But back to that family mentality, we're giving each other a hard time, that dark humor. We're texting him because we know he has two things: a watch that buzzes all the time, and his phone's right in front of him. So we're sending him text messages. And I don't know if we'll include this on here, but I'm going to tell you that I think you've heard this story. But there was one time he's talking about aviation assets, and he's like, I didn't get the list. I have no idea if there are any seats available or lats or VLATs or anything like that. And I texted him real quick, and I'm like, the only seat I see or available is your face.
Yeah. He's like, the only seat I see available is on your face. And I looked down, I was like, I got to finish this brief.
Right.
Anyway, guys,
well, I didn't realize it when I do that at the end, I always tell people, make sure you anchor, flank, and pitch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
you have no idea how many people actually say that.
Oh, yeah.
And they're kind of mocking you, but they listen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of, there's some departments that have a side bet on how many times I'm going to say it and if I'm going to say it throughout the summer. But if it got to that point, then that means, guess what? When they get on a fire, they're going to think about Shaka saying anchor, flank, and pinch, because how many times have I been to fires where there's no anchor point and everybody's fighting fire, and it's like, dude, we got to go back to the basics and understand we got to get an anchor point before we start doing anything.
Yeah,
you know?
Provide for LCES. You're 10 and 18. That is one of your watchouts.
Exactly. And it's frustrating because I don't get to work with everybody on a daily basis one-on-one. So that Zoom meeting I have every day with the morning briefing is open to every firefighter in the land office, if not more. And hey, if they can remember one thing that I'm saying in there, anchor, flank, and pinch,
it's your
then I've
catchphrase.
done my job. Exactly.
It's like Reno saying Reno out, or I think the full catchphrase is,
Boomtown.
I've got more work to do.
Yeah.
No.
Reno out.
And I told Colton, I said, it's like, Bob Barker when The Price is Right, when he talks about spade and neuter your animals. That was like his trademark.
Oh, I was going somewhere else. The price is wrong, bitch.
But at the end of the day, that's what it's about, is repetition, getting people to memory. And yeah, you might have a little joke at your expense, but at the end of the day, I know they're actually paying attention because now they're waiting for me to say it.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, here's a notch. Yep, he said that. Oh, that's not really exactly what he said. But
At
they're
least
paying attention.
Yeah, at least
Well,
they're
and
being
then-
engaged.
Right.
These guys in Laurel, they started that stuff. Now all of the stations are doing it. I'm getting texts from everybody.
I did it one time last year, and I got a text from an individual. I did it one time.
You did it like 5 times.
No,
it was like every time I was on.
It's the rule of 3, right?
No,
you do it once and it's
it was
actually
definitely
3 more on
once.
top.
Because then, like the following day, or even maybe that later that same day, I got a text from your boss saying, "Hey, quit messing with my guy." I'm like, "Okay, I'm sorry, I won't." So
he continued.
no, I didn't.
You handed it off to Casey and to a couple other
I
people.
feel like it was 100% you and your big mouth telling everybody else.
I might have been a causing factor.
Or
of
it
that.
could be the fact that he's so easy to pick on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's-
It's just a shine that people love you.
my favorite thing is we'll be going at it, giving him a hard time, and then he looks over at Mason. He's like, Mason, say something so it stops being on me and goes to you. And it's like, Mason's like, nope. And just shuts up, dude. And it's like, game on.
yeah, yep.
Well, we should probably start wrapping things up.
Yeah, I
here,
definitely
Reno.
think we should wrap it up. We're at over an hour right now, which is great. I mean, we could obviously keep talking
forever.
Yeah, we
forever. But Jocko, thanks again for being on, and
Anytime,
we
man.
look forward to having you on again. So,
Absolutely. We'll keep doing it, keep rocking it, and
Yeah,
do some more fun, crazy things.
even if we can have it be like a once a month thing, I like I said, it's mobile. So once the fire season starts hitting up, we'll probably have it set up at the stations or at the hangar or however that looks. So,
Give you a hard time even more.
yeah, absolutely. Because what's half an hour? Obviously, we're sitting around waiting. I might be going over that hour again, trying to close up. But we talked about it. The cooking. We bring a big ass Traeger there, bringing a bunch of meats and veggies and stuff, and just cook there while we're
Just
waiting
don't
for a
let
fire.
Don't let him do any buffalo brisket.
Yeah, I know. I gotta redeem myself for the brisket. That was the beef brisket, right?
Was it beef? I thought it was
No,
buffalo.
No, it was buffalo. Yeah. I got to redeem myself for that.
Yeah, because since then he's made some pretty amazing things here at the shop too. Yeah, even at the station.
Did he order
Unless
it?
you ask him to make scrambled eggs.
yeah,
then
the
that-
one time, the one time.
Never gonna live it down.
That was 3 years ago or
It was
2
like
years
a
ago.
whole thing of garlic in these eggs. It's terrible.
No, it was garlic powder.
No, it was the minced garlic. I seen it in the fridge, and I was like, oh, I'll just throw this in there.
Yeah, half a freaking tube.
Anyway,
Only Reno.
thanks again.
Anytime,
I
brother.
appreciate your time, and like I said, once a month thing.
Absolutely.
Let's keep doing this. If you find anybody, let's get more people on our podcast and get this
Absolutely.
sucker growing. So
Yeah, for sure.
I have nothing else. Do you guys have anything? All right. Well, we have some work to do. Boomtown, Reno out.
Anchor, flank, and pitch.
Anchor, flank, and pitch, baby.
That was great.